A good evening to you all, and thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television News tonight. We do hope you had yourselves a productive Tuesday. Now here's a sneak peek of our edition. On Tuesday afternoon at Village Urugwiro, President Paul Kagame received Ambassador Eric Needler, the U.S. ambassador to Rwanda, for a farewell meeting as he concludes his tour of duty. The association Ibuka, which defends the interests of survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi, is denouncing the persistent obstacles to international justice. We are glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Abera. Now, on Tuesday afternoon at Village Urugwiro, President Paul Kagame received Ambassador Eric Needler, the U.S. ambassador to Rwanda, for a farewell meeting as he concludes his tour of duty. In October 2023, Ambassador Eric Needler presented his letters of credence to President Paul Kagame, officially authorizing him to represent the United States of America in Rwanda. During the more than 2 years he spent in Rwanda, Ambassador Needler focused on various activities, including strengthening the good relations between the two countries and supporting development projects in sectors such as agriculture, education, trade, and others. Moving ahead, the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement, in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth and Arts, together with some writers and filmmakers from the African continent, are producing a film that focuses on history and highlights the strong resistance of the people of Bisesero during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. It is a film that will teach history to the youth born after the genocide and also help the country confront genocide denialists spread across the world. And our Gladys reports.
American journalist and writer Richard Hall, widely known for the film 600s, which recounts the history of 600 RPA soldiers, explains that the history of the people of Bisesero is a strong testament to heroism and unity among people who defended themselves in their struggle to survive in the times of extreme hardship.
And so telling the story of Bisesero outside of Rwanda, it's an unknown story. So when we make this film, it's for Rwanda, but it's for the world. And it's for the world to understand the context of even the things that are going on today in East Africa are very easier to explain when you understand what happened in 1994 and who survived, who lives in Bisesero to this day, has rebuilt her life, started a new family, lives among the people. Many of them were her perpetrators against her family. But she's symbolic. She's symbolic of the rebirth of Rwanda. She's symbolic of the resilience of Rwanda.
The Battle of Bisesero, or Urugamba rwo mu Bisesero, is the title of a film currently being produced through a partnership between the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement and the Ministry of Youth and Arts, together with some writers and filmmakers from the African continent. Nigerian actor Wale Ojo is one of the lead actors in the film. He explains that, having been affected by films that portray Rwanda negatively and trivialize the genocide against the Tutsi, he drew a lesson that African history should not be distorted by anyone whose aim is to tarnish the image of countries on the continent.
Bisesero is their collective memory of an old Rwanda and of a new Rwanda. A Rwanda that looks to the future, a Rwanda that's the future of the African continent. It's about Rwanda. It's called Black Earth Rising. It's about Rwanda. It was shot last year by the BBC, and it was a terrible film. It's a terrible portrayal of what happened. Yes. You know, and it was refused. Thank God the Rwandan government refused to support that film. So you see, and I'm so glad that the Rwandese government made that move. It's so important that the story belongs to Rwanda and is told by Rwandans, you know? Because if you just say, oh, we're just going to try and forget it, it was a long time ago, then what you're going to have is the Western companies are going to come and they will twist the story. As simple as that. But if it comes like that, and that is why our approach right now is just, I think it's a great approach, because we're bringing it to the people of Rwanda and saying, let us embrace this story so it is a Rwandese story. that's developed from here.
Bisesero shows that even when a person lacks physical strength, unity, courage, and the will to survive can enable them to stand up against evil. For the youth, such films are seen as tools that help them confront those who distort or trivialize the history of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, as explained by Ugandan actress Kababito Jessie.
The Battle of Bisesero is important to me because it tells a story of a people who refuse to die in a futile manner. They refuse to give up their freedom. They refuse to give up their lives, for something that was... This story is important to me because it's a story that needs to be told globally. It's a story that needs to be told objectively. I don't think a lot of people know what happened in Rwanda. For me, it's just outstanding to see that you are the people you are today. And yeah, given how many years it happened, it's just been, 1994? That's not a very long time ago. And especially for Rwanda, your youth should be so driven. They should know that your ancestors fought for what you have today,
Today, Bisesero plays an important role in teaching people of different backgrounds lessons on resisting evil. It also preserves history that highlights the cowardice of the UNAMIR troops who were supposed to protect them, as well as the consequences of the silence of the international community that should have intervened to save the innocent people of Bisesero.
Thank you, Enora Gladys. The association, Ibuka, which defends the interests of survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi, is denouncing the persistent obstacles to international justice. It regrets that several perpetrators of the genocide, who have long been settled in Europe, now invoke their advanced age to avoid appearing before the courts, despite having lived freely for decades. A story by Jean-Benoit Michel.
According to Richard Gisagara, a lawyer representing civil parties in genocide-related cases tried in France, the year 2025 marked a significant turning point in the way the French justice system and authorities came to understand the gravity of the genocide and its underlying ideology.
ko izo manza zose zaciwe hari message zasigiye abafaransa habari mu rwego rw'ubucamanza cyangwa se no mu bayobozi.
The verdicts, delivered in 2025, sent a strong message to both French authorities and society at large. This was clearly demonstrated recently by the mobilization that prevented the barrier of Protezi Giranyirazo in France. Although the event had been planned for a long time, the reaction of Rwandans, their friends and defenders through mobilization led the authorities to refuse it. The same applies to a concert that was scheduled at the beginning of the mourning period in an attempt to disrupt commemoration and trivialize the genocide by equating it with other conflict. Due to the public mobilization, these initiatives were cancelled. All this shows that France is beginning to recognize the genocide against the Tutsi as a historical reality, not a political narrative. Despite these improvements, Mr. Gisagara points out that major obstacles continue to slow down judicial proceedings.
Agatsiko kamwe k'abafaransa cyane cyane bafite abahuriye na guverinoma.
In France, there is a small group of individuals linked to the genocide perpetrators who seek to delay trials after fear that they themselves could be prosecuted for complicity. Although their number has declined, they still exert some influence. This explains why certain cases, such as those involving Agathe Kanziga and Aloys Ndiragabu, remain stalled. As time passes, memories fade, and gathering testimonies more than 30 years after genocide became increasingly difficult. Moreover, the political will that allowed these trials to move forward is relatively recent and tied to the warming of diplomatic relations. There is no guarantee that it will endure, which could affect the continuation of the proceedings. For Ibuka, these delays have serious human consequences. Its president, Dr. Philibert Gakwenzide, laments that some survivors die without even seeing justice done. When we say that perpetrators of the genocide are living in Europe and they claim they cannot be tried because of their age, this raises serious concerns. These individuals did not arrive there on their own. Take the case of Felicien Kabuga, who was arrested after 25 years. How did he get there? Who helped him? Who provided him with travel and residence document? He was not undocumented. He used multiple passports issued by different states. These acts of complicity are what prevent justice from being served. Those who facilitated the escape and protection of these perpetrators must also be held accountable, because their action deny victims and survivors the justice they deserve. Today, around 30 genocide-related cases are still under investigation in France. 3 trials are scheduled for 2026, including the appeal trial of Claude Maimana, who was sentenced in 2021 to 14 years in prison for complicity in the genocide against the Tutsis.
Residents living along the borders of Nyungwe National Park, as well as those in the Mayaga region of Ruhango district, say that the ongoing conservation and promotion of biodiversity in their communities have significantly improved their quality of life. This progress is largely attributed to the diversity of tree species planted and the increased presence of wildfire. Jean-Benoit Michel continues.
Nyungwe National Park is widely known for its rich biodiversity, a home to numerous mammals, bird species, and a wide variety of indigenous trees. Among the dominant plant species are traditional trees. These species have gradually been planted in areas surrounding the park to make them more accessible to local communities. This initiative has also encouraged the return of animal species that had previously disappeared, thereby improving the living conditions of nearby residents. In the past, anyone in need of medicinal plant had to enter the forest, risking arrest or mistreatment by park rangers. Today, these plants are available closer to the communities. For instance, people suffering from cough or chest pain can use the leaves of these plants, and some of them are also used to treat livestock. These species, which were once on the verge of extinction, have been restored for the benefit of the population. Some residents also point out the presence of pastures grasses that attract animals such as antelopes, helping to maintain ecological balances. Local authorities in Ruhango district, particularly in the Mayaga region, confirm these observations. They note that reforestation has significantly improved the environment in an area that was once threatened by desertification. Today, our region is greener. It was beginning to resemble a desert, but Mayaga is gradually regaining its fertility, which encourages the return of rainfall and improves the quality of the air we breathe. Meanwhile, biodiversity and community development researcher and executive director of the NGO Baikal, Dr. Anji Manishimwe, emphasized that these efforts also bring tourism closer to the local communities. He explains that a biodiversity restoration program is being implemented in the Nyungwe corridor in partnership with the government. These initiatives enable local communities to take part in tourism development around the park. Medicinal trees that were once inaccessible inside the forest are now available in the surrounding areas, reducing additional pressure on the national park. Today, more than 1/7 plant species that had disappeared had been restored in the new corridor, along with 5 mammal species and over 35 species. In the Mayaga region, more than 5,000 hectares of land have been reforested. The overall Nyungwe National Park is home to 1,068 plant species, 75 mammal species, and 320 bird species.
The Rwanda Convention Bureau, RCB, highlighted that Rwanda hosted 155 international conferences and events in 2025, a milestone that continues to significantly contribute to the country's socio-economic development. Adam Squizera with more.
Having already established itself as a leading destination for nature-based tourism through its national parks, Rwanda has also positioned itself as a regional and continental hub for MICE sector. Meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. The country now regularly hosts and organizes high-profile international conferences and events. According to a report from Rwanda Development Board (RDB), Rwanda hosted 104 international conferences and events in 2022, attracting more than 35,000 delegates from across the globe and generating over $62.4 million in revenues. Among the most notable events was the CHOGM, Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. Carl Schofield, Managing Director of QA Venue Solutions, the company that manages BK Arena, Amahoro Stadium, and Zaire Court, says that strong collaboration between the government and private sector in expanding and professionalizing event infrastructure has been instrumental in positioning Rwanda as a leading conference destination in Africa.
We always approach and look at these venues as key contributors towards the MICE sector. And with that, we have to bring the management to really unlock the opportunity of these venues playing the right role in the MICE sector. And for us, you know, if you look at MICE as a general point, it really focuses more on your meetings, exhibitions, those sort of events. And what we are able to bring with the venue now through strategic management, through the partnership with the government of Rwanda, is a new component, is really something that supports the ecosystem, and that's the sports and entertainment, you know, but these venues are not limited to just that.
In 2023, MICE sector generated over $95 million, representing a 48% increase compared to 2022. During the same year, the country hosted more than 160 international conferences and entertainment events, including the 7th FIFA Congress, Women Deliver Conference, and the Trace Africa Music Awards. This growth has been widely acknowledged not only by facility managers, but also by leaders in the sports and entertainment sector, who emphasize that the sector's growing contribution to national development.
When we launched the Basketball Africa League, we talked about this being economic growth engine for the continent that is going to create jobs, that is going to have innovative entrepreneurs think about what else can we build in the ecosystem, because we wanted to build the entire ecosystem, and that's what you guys have really done here, you know, in terms of Zaire Court, a place where, you know, using the transformative power and the convening power of basketball.
In 2024, Rwanda hosted 115 international conferences and entertainment events attended by over 52,315 delegates, generating more than $84 million in revenues. Like other sectors of the economy, MICE sector has created employment opportunities, particularly in the hospitality sector.
We definitely engage more supplies from our chain, our food chain, and all the logistics to be able to cater. So you'll find a lot of activity comes in as a ripple effect to MICE, to any event that is going on in the city. So you'll find farmers getting more orders from the hotels. All the suppliers get more, we must source for more, more supplies to be able to cater for them. On top of that, so you'll find transportation. We'll have to look for transport to transfer these guests from the airport to the hotels and to and fro the events. There will be also a lot of catering in terms of refreshments, food, and this brings more money.
2025 marked a turning point for Rwanda, further reinforcing the country's strategic vision to become a premier destination for international conferences and global events. Hosting the UCI Road World Championships 2025 underscored Rwanda's capability to successfully organize world-class international sporting events. In his end-of-year address for 2025, President Paul Kagame highlighted that such achievements are largely driven by Africa's capacity to define and pursue its own development agenda.
Several milestone events this year elevated Rwanda's profile internationally. The International Security Conference on Africa was held for the first time, and the African School of Governance matriculated its first class of students from all around Africa. We also convened a new annual event on nuclear power innovation for Africa. This reaffirms that Rwandans and Africans generally have the power to define who we are, what we stand for, and where we are going.
Figures from the Rwanda Convention Bureau RCB highlights that in 2025, Rwanda hosted a total of 155 international conferences and events, attracting more than 57,255 delegates. Looking ahead to 2026, Rwanda is set to further elevate its global profile as it prepares to host the FIFA series. Adam Squizera reporting for RTV News.
And that Euronews story marks the end of our bulletin. Before we let you go, let's have a recap of our headlines. On Tuesday afternoon at Village Urugwiro, President Paul Kagame received Ambassador Eric Needler, the U.S. ambassador to Rwanda, for a farewell meeting as he concludes his tour of duty. The association Ibuka, which defends the interests of survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi, is denouncing the persistent obstacles to international justice. And on that note, we have come to the end of tonight's English News Bulletin. On behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. And until next time, stay safe and have a good night.